And it's been so many accomplishments that he's had, but just to let you know, representatives from the United States, England, France, Dominican Republic, and they also apologized for their role in slavery. He was right there to cover that. Previously, he served as a weekend news anchor and reporter for CBS in Raleigh, North Carolina. Wright secured numerous rare interviews, including a 1996 exclusive interview with O.J. Simpson following the criminal court trial. Wright also served as a general assignment reporter for My Network TV in New York. He reported on numerous high-profile newsmakers and events for the stations, including John Gotti, Amy Fisher, the Howard Beach and Vincent Hurst murder trials, and the 1989 Central Park jogger rape case. He began his journalism career in 1977 while serving in the United States Army and has received numerous awards for his reporting, including 2 local Emmy Awards for his developing, reporting, and co-producing a documentary and news series on the transatlantic slave trade. Wright is a proud graduate of my school, Oral Roberts University in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where we actually met. For nearly 30 years, Mr. Wright has been reporting on major news events. He's also interviewed many popular newsmakers, including President Barack Obama, First Lady Laura Bush, Muhammad Ali, John Travolta, Nick Jonas, Ludacris, O.J. Simpson, Magic Johnson, Denzel Washington, and many, 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 many more. A familiar face to millions who watch Kelly Wright is the co-anchor of American News Headquarters Weekend and former co-host of Fox and Friends Weekend. He also reports on events that shape our world from Washington. Again, he's been in Africa, Iraq, London, Paris, the White House, Pentagon, U.S. Capitol, and other places of influence. Beyond his anchoring and reporting, Kelly is an ordained minister and gospel recording artist. He encourages people through his passionate preaching good news in a bad news world. As a singer, he's performed on programs featuring Shirley Caesar, Cissy Houston, Jonathan Butler, the late James Brown, and more. He sings songs that motivate, inspire, and promote hope at a time filled with hopelessness. In his book, America's Hope, Kelly candidly discusses politics, racism, and the role of faith in a world that's increasingly more cynical. We officially met on the campus of Oral Roberts University, where the CHAMPS program was invited to speak at the 50th anniversary. He politely came up to me after we spoke and said, "Can I come to Chicago to interview you guys? Your story needs to be shared worldwide." Not only did he show up, but ever since then, he's been a friend, he's been a mentor, he's been a big brother to me. He's always asking and checking, how can I help contribute to the positivity of Chicago? So when I told him about Career Day, he stopped everything to get on a flight to come here just to impart it to you all. So with that, I want to welcome Mr. Kelly Wright, and we're going to show the video that he did on Gary Coleman College Prep. Watch this.
In the midst of so much going on, like violence in Chicago, many have described it as the killing fields of America, particularly among young African American and Latino males. Some even argue there is no upward mobility for the youth growing up in the tough, low-income minority communities. But in today's Beyond the Dream, we see a different picture, a real story of real triumph in the middle of crime and tragedy. While deadly violence in Chicago gets all of the focus on the news, 700 students at the Gary Coleman College Prep are boldly defying the odds against them. They're excelling in education in the middle of Southside's killing fields.
It really is a great thing, especially, if you just watch the news any night, any given night on the violence in Chicago to walk into this building every day and work with the kids that we work with. Our kids really are defying the stereotypes. 100% of our seniors every year have been accepted into college, and it's going to continue happening.
My father was a treasurer of the gangs, and he basically told me that I wasn't going to do what he did, that I was going to go to school. So I used school as a vehicle, education as a vehicle, to keep myself out the streets.
Assistant Principal Vondale Singleton graduated from high school, attended Oral Roberts University in Tulsa, where he earned his master's degree in education. Armed with faith and hope, he returned to the city that he loves to help kids in Chicago achieve their dreams. He launched CHAMPS, a mentoring program to help teenage boys withstand the pressures of joining gangs.
I used to be at risk, then I switched it up. Started hitting them books, kept my grades up.
The boys recorded a song and video that urges people to focus on education and jobs and urges gangs to stop the violence. The video earned recognition from the White House Film Festival, which paved the way for the kids to visit the president. Singleton and the young men tell me they are on a mission to develop the kind of character that leads to a legacy of greatness. What is the impact that you want the world to know that you're making on the good young men and women in Chicago?
I would say, for me personally, I'm letting the young man know that I'm not giving up on him.
How long have you been a student here?
Since 2012.
And what's involved in your future?
Right now, I'm like transitioning into like this solo artist, and I'm also going into forensic psychology. So it's like growing up, basically, going from that baby into that adult.
Could you have done that without coming here?
No.
Going to like a regular school, I wouldn't have been challenged.
We hear all these bad things about Chicago and the unfortunate circumstances where young kids are dying, yet you're the lions who are out there making a roar for change.
One of the things we really try to push is a life without excuse. So it doesn't matter, two-parent home, one-parent home, foster care, living in a homeless shelter, dad's at home, dad's in jail. We don't care about what the background is when you come. We try to foster that life without excuse, because there's always going to be a reason to fail. We're going to give you every reason to succeed, be positive, and not be negative, and that's what we drive for every day.
An incredible program, the Gary Comer College Prep and CHAMPS insist on setting audaciously high goals for the students. It challenged them to believe that with grit, zest, optimism, and gratitude, anything is possible.
Give yourself some applause. I'm from New York City. I work in New York City now, not Washington, D.C. So you can't be polite when I say give yourself some praise, because everybody else is doing things negative about Chicago, about the youth of Chicago. So when I say give yourself some praise, you just stand up on your feet and applaud for what you're doing. Throw yourself some high fives. Wave your hands in the air like you really do care. I mean, have mercy. Somebody pay you a compliment, don't be so shy about it, take it. Take it with humility, but also, thank God that you got it going on. Because all I'm looking at is stars. I'm looking at nothing but stars up in here, all right? So if you can smile a little bit and show me that, yeah, smile a little bit, let me see you. Your shining star for all the world to see. There was a great musical artist, and I'm from old school, because all that resume that he talked about just proves that I'm an old guy. So I'm with old school things that go on in my mind. And so I'm thinking right now about the great songwriter Maurice Wright, who created Earth, Wind, and Fire, Chicago. And he used to say, shining star for you to see what your life can truly be. Your shining star. Come on, y'all. Shining star for you to see what your life can truly be. Shining star for you to be. Yeah, that's what you want. I see it going on.
You're a shining star. And let me tell you why you're a shining star. Here's a message to you, my friend. Be very proud of who you are, for you're a child of God, and in His eyes, you're a shining star. Don't be ashamed because you're black. There is nothing that can hold you back. If you believe you can achieve anything that you conceive, always keep walking on that straight and narrow road, and God, He will help you. He'll carry your heaviest load. But you got to keep your faith alive, so that your dreams will then prosper and your life will then thrive. Keep your hope and love alive, so through the trials, the pain, and the agony, you'll gain the victory. Now I know there are things in your heart that you want to do. I know you're wishing upon a star that your dreams will carry you far, and indeed they will if you'll be still trusting only in God's perfect will. There are mountains for you to climb, new adventures for you to find. Simply do your best, stand up to the test, and you'll find yourself perfectly blessed. Gary Comer, check it out. You got to keep your faith alive, so that your dreams will prosper and your life will then thrive. You got to keep your hope and love alive, so that through the trials, the pain, and the agony, you will gain the victory. But Gary Comer, I come from a news background, and I see the bad news that goes on in Chicago, and it breaks my heart because I know that there's good news right in here. Nobody's talking about what's going on right in here. When I was growing up, I grew up in Southeast Washington, D.C., one of the hardest places you could ever grow up in, Congress Heights and Anacostia in Southeast Washington. Nothing but hard-hit people. Crack, drugs, everything, prostitution, gangs. And what I was exposed to could have stopped me from becoming who I am today. But that's a topic for another discussion. Right now, I'm here to talk about you. Then I'll get into a bit of me. But take a look around. Tell me, what do you see? I see a world filled with war, poverty, pain, and misery. Take a look around. What do you see? A world filled with racism and bigotry. Take a look around. Tell me, what do you see? On the streets filled with hostility and agony. So in the streets we cry because our friends and babies died from all the guns and the violence. And we raise our hands and lift our demands, yet the violence is not silence. Lord, we need you now. We need you right now, right here, right now. Take a look around, Gary Comer, and tell me, what do you see? I'll tell you what I see. I see children of promise and prosperity. Take a look around, I'll tell you what I see. Children who are saving Chicago from dangling on the end of its rope, because you are the champs who can offer them hope. You gotta believe that. I didn't come here to play around or mess around. Don't waste my time. I'm not going to waste yours. I believe in everything that you're trying to do. How many of you have dreams that are here? Look at that. I'm going to start right here. What's your dream? Be the scientist and marketer. Let me go over here. What's your dream, sir? Stand up for me.
My dream is to be a real estate agent or get my degree in law.
You can do all. You can do law and be a real estate agent. You can own your own firm. You know, your own computer company. Let me tell you something about dreams. Don't let me forget the audience out here. What's your dream, sir? Don't sleep on it. Don't sleep on it. What's your dream? Well, you're going to ask him what your dream is? What's your dream? Come up here.
I want to be a professional basketball player.
I'm going to tell you what Shaquille O'Neal told me. When Shaq talked to me in Atlanta, Georgia about 5 years ago, he said, Kelly, you know, when I was growing up, I was big, I was tall, and all I could do in Newark, New Jersey was steal cars, boost cars, and steal candy from places. And then my parents really realized that I was a bad kid going the wrong way, so they kept beating me to the point I finally got in my head that I could straighten up and become something great. So Shaquille O'Neal got his act together, got his grades together, wanted to become a predominant basketball player that we all know today, and we all love him because we see him everywhere around the world. But Shaq said without God, without his parents, he wouldn't have become that NBA player, and without an education. So you go and become that NBA player, but make sure you got your education. So you can be like Shaq and not only go on and get that $100 million contract after your first year in college at LSU, but then to promise your mother that you're going to go back and get your degree, and then you get your degree, then you go on and get your master's degree, and then he's now Dr. Shaquille O'Neal. So they went ahead and got his doctorate. Look, all these dreams that you're talking about are possible, but you got to stop thinking that your dreams are somewhere far away. You can build your dreams right here, right now. That's what Gary Comer College Prep is all about, building your dreams right now. Because if you don't build your dreams, someone is going to hire you to build theirs. Let that sink a little bit. If you don't build your dreams, someone is going to hire you to build theirs. You get that? So, just like this young man's talking about real estate, you're talking about NBA, you're talking about computer science, you got to build upon that dream. So as you build upon your dream, you got to realize that nothing can stand in your way, including yourself. Because a lot of times we have the habit of getting in our own way. Let me ask you something. What is the wealthiest place on the planet? Is the wealthiest place the gold mines in South Africa? Is the wealthiest place the oil fields of the Middle East? The wealthiest place on earth is right here in your mind. Now, here's what happens. If you don't use what's in your mind, then the wealthiest place becomes, as someone behind me said and someone in front of me says, the cemetery. Because some of the greatest advances in modern history are buried in the graveyard. So if you're not building your dream, the greatest asset that you have in your life, your faith, your hope, your love, your dream, is buried in you. And God did not create you to have a DNA of failure. He created you to have a DNA of success. And yes, you will go through failure in order to become a champion. What makes a champion a champion? Champs go through hard things. They go through struggles, through obstacles, in order to achieve their dream. But they emerge as champions. Remember, I said you are the future hope of Chicago. You are the ones that Rahm Emanuel needs to be talking to. You are the ones that people in law enforcement and the clergy need to be talking to. And what I'm proud of is the fact that you have mentors and educators here who believe in you so much that they're investing their all in you. Yeah, give us some applause. And the question is, how do you look upon yourself? How do you look upon yourself? Are you always looking down on the ground? The possibility is here, you can be a pioneer. You just can't be afraid of the new frontier. That means you gotta be thinking right. You gotta be thinking out of the box, not inside a box, not inside someone's mind. Someone else's mind is gonna try to pollute you and dilute you and keep you from becoming the best that you can be. Right even in here. Look, I go to churches, and one of the worst places you can grow up sometimes is the church because people talk about each other. So I know why y'all say amen, it ain't no different up in here. Because peer pressure comes into play, and you start talking about each other, you start pulling each other down, rather than lifting each other up. All I'm here to let you know is that the only time you should be down with someone is when you're trying to be down there to help them get up. Now, I'm going to break it down to you. Some of you have been through all kinds of challenges and frustrations, and I know this one 16-year-old girl. Listen to me very quickly. This is a very, very, very important story. True story. 16-year-old girl that I know was destined to be a psychiatrist and doing everything that she needed to do to become a psychiatrist. She was also a great singer. Her mother wanted her to become a professional singer, go off to college, learn opera and all that good stuff. But she wanted to be a psychiatrist. And she was the friend of a pastor's wife at a neighboring church. And what happened, they were supposed to go out shopping together. And this 16-year-old girl went to that house, to the pastor's house, to go to meet the pastor's wife so they could go downtown and go shopping. And you know, 16-year-olds, they like, well, 16-year-old girls, how many 16-year-old girls like to go shopping? Yeah, see? So this girl's all happy about the whole thing. She's going to go shopping and she doesn't know what kind of gift she's going to get. Instead, when she gets there, the pastor's wife is gone and the pastor invited the 16-year-old girl in, and what happened then should have never happened. She was sexually assaulted, and she was going through this thinking in her mind, why am I in this situation? Is it the way I dressed? Is it something I said? Did I act in a certain way? What is happening here? Why is this happening? And she was telling me that as soon as it was over, she fled. She ran and ran and ran, trying to just get the guilt and shame off of her, realizing what she had been through was not something that she had brought on, but yet questioning herself, what did I do wrong? And now she's wondering, who do I tell? Who do I go to let them know what happened? She didn't go to her mother because her mother was concerned. She was concerned that her mother would have reacted the wrong way, and she probably would have, like trying to kill the guy. So she decided to keep all of that in. But then a dilemma took place. She discovered that she was pregnant. Now she has a problem, and it's too late to go to the police, and she knew that she went to the police would be her word against a pastor, the pillar of the community. So now she's really, really, really frustrated, and she's worried, and she doesn't know where to turn. She's going to school, and she's showing, and all the people are saying, ooh, look at you. What you been doing? Who got you knocked up? And she came home one day, and she came to her living room, and she found her suitcase. And she thought, oh boy, this is bad. I guess I'm getting kicked out. And her mother said, we're going to fly you to another city so that you can have an abortion. And she said, nope, that's not going to happen. God's telling me this is the only child I'm ever going to have. And I'm going to have it. And so, 5 days after her 17th birthday, she gave birth to that child. Now she's a teenage mom raising a young child, trying to help that young child become all that she wanted to be, but sacrificing her life to make that child all that he needed to be. And she worked with that child and mentored that child and never had another child. She ultimately adopted someone years later, but she even got married. She never was able to produce a child. So what God told her was right, that it was going to be her only child biologically. And she continued to watch that child grow. And while the child made mistakes, made sins of his own, she continued to pour into his life, letting him know that he could be anything he aspired to be. And she watched that child go on to be all the things that he dreamed of being, and then some. And the reason why I know that story so well is because that child is me. He told me this, if I didn't let you know that moms like mine sacrificed it all for me. My mother's name was June Lorraine Wright. and I love her every day. And she's no longer here. So my legacy sorry, Joe. So I'm sharing this word with you everywhere that I go because someone needs to hear it. You all need to know no matter how far you think you've fallen, you can get back up again. That's my alarm to say it's time to end. 5 minutes. So I just want to, I just keep it real. I'm married, I have 3 children. They're all successful children, and only God can do that because of you pouring into me. And that's what I want you to know. There are people here that are pouring into your life. So don't take it for granted. Don't take this opportunity that you have, ever take it for granted. And if you're a hard head like I was, I hope you have a gene like I did. Because when I was a hard head and I was playing around in school, listen, I went to one of the top schools in Washington, D.C., Gonzaga, all-male academy. But right next door was Notre Dame. And so I was spending most of my time in Notre Dame. And when they were going to pass me on a D average in the 9th grade, June stepped in and said, ain't happening. He will not be a mediocre child. He will not be a mediocre black child growing up in America. Because he's going to need to understand that he needs to have excellence in everything that he does. And as a result of that, she pulled me out of that school, sent me out to a place called Hagerstown, Maryland, my birthplace, and put me into a small Catholic school. And my mother was always big on casting a vision and making it plain because she felt like God did, that my people perish for a lack of knowledge and a lack of vision. So you got to understand something while I'm talking about that vision. If you have a vision, don't let people and the haters come in to make it die vision. So what she said to me, she sat down and said, Cal, this is going to be your school. It's a small school, 250 students. It's all white. You're the only black. And you will not just survive, you will overcome. And the rest is history. But I had a mother who wasn't afraid to use the left hook. So if I got out of line, she was able to put me back in line. And so my career, while it's been great and glorious, I owe all the credit to June. So I leave you with this thought. The possibility, I said it before, the possibility is here. You can be a pioneer. My friend Leon Patillo, who used to be lead singer for Santana, now a gospel artist, he says, hold on tight to your dream. It's not as hard as you seem. If you try, you can do most anything because the sky is the limit. Let your talent flow. Let your river of gifts flow. And go ahead and be the best that you can be. And wherever I go, I like to let people know what June used to sing to me all the time. She said, if I can help somebody as I travel on, if I can help somebody with a word or a song, if I can help somebody who is traveling wrong, then my living will not be in vain. And I want you to get this. If we can help each other as we travel on, if we can help each other with a word or a song, If we can help each other as we travel along, then your living, my living, our living will never be in vain. Ladies and gentlemen, I love you. God bless you. Never, ever